In some perspective, a record number of emails on an old coal executive. Go figure. But there you have it. A CEO who insists that the president's policies are hurting his business and hurting Americans. So, right or wrong, the Fox Business Network's Dagan McDowell, Paul Mangiamelli, the CEO of Bennigan's, and Democratic strategist Rick Unger. Dagan, what do you think? I said that just the regulations alone and what the coal industry has to do now, they're going to cost a lot.
They're going to cost a lot, and those costs will be passed down, Neil, to those people, those Americans who can least afford those price increases. The more that is passed on to these people, if you're lower income, that is a regressive tax on this country. This year, you're going to have power prices at the retail level going up the most they have since 2008, double-digit increases, adjusting for inflation in many states over the last decade, and there is more to come, and we can start talking about every other thing that the Obama administration has done to raise costs for those Americans.
You know, I raised with him, but he kind of dodged it, Paul, this notion that would he have gotten the heat he did, and his industry the heat it did, if it had been less critical of the president right from the get-go. In other words, he came out the gate not liking this president, came out the gate being very dismissive of the administration's concerns about the coal industry, and then he sort of planted the seeds himself for this.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, in our industry, let me put this in perspective. We're working on very slim margins. I mean, the profit margin in the restaurant business for both franchise businesses as well as independent businesses are 5 to 10%. So when you look at the compounded effect of the weather for the first quarter of this year, the increasing labor because of Obamacare, and we're seeing increased labor because of it. We're looking at commodity prices across the board are up already, so the cost of food is already up. Rising taxes, and all of this is impacting that very fragile margin. And now with the additional mandates, whether it's minimum wage, or even taking away the tip credit, which isn't really being talked about because this is specific to the restaurant business, but taking the tip credit away, and then mandating a 100% increase now with $15 they're talking about from the minimum wage that's right now.
Well, the president, he's looking at 10-10, but others have pushed $15.
Right. I mean, Seattle now is just trying to get it.
The winds are not favorable.
They're not favorable at all. And I don't know who gets 100% increases in their wage, but all of this on a compound basis, I'll take him on myself, but on a compound basis, it's deleterious to our business, and it will put more fragile businesses out of business. And I don't know how that hurts.
Well, I think you hit on a key point, but Rick, my own sense, whether you agree or disagree with what these are, I'm just saying is now the time, when the rack is just exploding, to be expecting Americans for whatever clean air push you're making to pay 30% more for their utility bills.
The problem is they're not going to. Look, I thought
whoa.
They're not going to.
They certainly are.
Let me explain why.
The emission standards are such that the average hit for coal companies is going to be 30% more in cost. Do you think that there's a good chance that since they account for about half your utility bills, those costs are going to be passed along?
Some of them will, but let's get some facts straight. Because
wait, stop.
I got it.
No. You make stuff up. Let me ask you this. Do you think utility bills are going to go up as a result of this? Yes or no?
Utility bills will go up, not nearly as much as you think, but some. But you know what's going to come down? The actual savings that we get on the side of on the health industry because of what this stuff causes. Do you know that there's a reason this was backdated to 2005? You do know it's 30% off 2005.
You do know that the coal industry has dramatically cleaned up its act.
That's right. That's my point.
But not enough for you.
Hang on. 2005 to today, they've already cleaned up 15%. The goal is 30%. They've got 15 years more to do the other 15%. You've got, no. You have got only 45% usage of natural gas.
For people to be paying higher utility. Is it now the time?
It's not now the time they're going to pay them. Not only that.
You're naive. If you don't think people are going to pay more for this, it just started. It's an executive order that just started now.
It doesn't even start until 2016.
Dagan, my worry with this right now, to a coal industry who knows a thing or two about his own business, when he's cleaned it up to the degree as, he says, yes, there's always more to do.
Right.
But that we now, at a time, a very delicate time, as far as our energy balance, that we are exposing ourselves at a very, very vulnerable time. What do people tell you?
Neil, absolutely. And people are going to pay higher utility bills. They already are without the impact of this EPA ruling, particularly in states that are coal heavy for their electricity, throughout the Southeast, Florida, throughout the Midwest. And to tell the American people that they're not going to pay, or at least, you know what, the fact that they're not saying to the American people, hey, you know what, you need to suck it up. We want you to use wind and solar. Deal with it. That's not what they're telling people.
That would be fine. If you want to say wind and solar, if you're going to say, Paul, the all in on all these other energy alternatives, that's fine. But you're singling out coal, you're singling out fossil fuels, you're singling out with the Keystone delay for whatever reason. So you're not all in. And I'm all in. I'm okay with solar. I'm okay with wind. I'm all in on everything. So I'm asking you, do you think that this selective strategy, targeting something that we have quite a bit of, and I think to Rick's point, maybe clean up a little better, but if we have quite a bit of it, and we have quite a bit of natural gas, we have quite a bit of all these other energy sources, and we are putting constraints on them at this time, is it a good time to do it?
No, absolutely, positively,
when is?
Unequivocally,
when
no.
is?
Because listen, we're already, look, this recovery sure does feel a lot like the recession, doesn't it? I mean, everybody, in terms of the business side, I mean, you're talking about on an individual side, that's one thing. On a business side, look, we're all working with fragile margins. So if you increase the cost of utility on top of everything I just mentioned, you're putting businesses out of business. So how does that help anything?
How does it help the 6,600 people who get sick every year because of it?
Wait,
what about
you're
them?
a lawyer. You're a lawyer.
Yeah.
Let's talk about.
I'd like the answer.
No. How about answer me this. You're a lawyer. Is it? This is done by executive order.
Yeah.
This is giving the EPA the power without checking Congress, without doing
they don't
anything.
have to.
By the way, if it was reversed and this was George Bush doing it, you would not be saying that.
I would have.
You would not be saying.
Yes, I would.
No, you wouldn't.
Neil, this is not fair.
Do you think something that affects all the nation's utilities and all the utility payers? Do you think this should be done by fiat, by executive order?
By the way, it was done by George Bush when we
Do you think that this is fine? Do you think this is fine? You're perfectly fine with it. All right, so Dagan, there you have the guy saying that it's perfectly fine for the legal fiat to have this move made now. I'm saying, let's say legally it is. I'll defer to the lawyer that it perfectly is.
Absolutely.
I'm saying now is not the time to be doing it when I see Iraq literally imploding as we speak.
And gas prices going up because oil prices are going up. And by the way, you crack down on the coal industry. Do you really think that the EPA and the White House is going to embrace the fracking movement and the shale movement and natural gas with open arms? Yes. Oh, really? They're going to get a really warm welcome?
Are they embracing the fracking movement?
She said the White House. Dagan said
but wait a minute, you're saying that we're embracing fracking?
New York has not yet embraced fracking. Pennsylvania has. Most other states have.
We're not embracing traditional energy.
Dagan didn't say New York. She said the White House. And the White House has embraced fracking.
How about people of your ilk, to be nice?
Of my ilk? I embrace fracking, so that's my...
I guess here's what I'm saying.
Supportive of
this
fracking.
comes, you mentioned the tenuous nature of our recovery.
Exactly.
And we're all for clean air. No one wants to be dying of dirty air. But we are now saying it's like they singled out an industry here. And I'm just wondering what's next after they succeed with this. Well, you yourself have said it's gotten better, right?
It has gotten better.
So, but not good enough.
Not just because of coal. There's been you guys, you're just avoiding the facts.
But there's only one solution.
You're avoiding the reality of the average person.
We've seen carbon reduction of 15% since 2005.
Did you hear this CEO who knows his business? I think it's better than you.
No, you know what I heard the CEO? He knows his business, but you just said it. His business. He owns that business. He knows this is bad for his business.
Is 40%. His business is 40% of our utility bill.
And his business is over. There are new ways.
We have coal coming out the yin-yang here.
Natural gas.
What do you think of that?
There's only one thing to do. It's clear. There's Monte Cristos at Bennigan's. Okay? There's turkey O'Toole's at Bennigan's.
I'm already in.
We got 2 pints of beer. Go to a Bennigan's. Go to a new steak nail coming out. Go to a Wall of Heroes.
Or are they Dominican
I'm telling you guys, there's a timing for everything.
I'm only coming if they're Cuban.
There's a timing for everything. This is a bad timing for this. But I'm telling you, given the email response we had from this gas, and we had just with a cavalier approach to this, it's generating enormous heat. We're going to have a lot more on this on Fox Business tonight because the implications go way beyond this. When we come back, thousands of emails not coming to us, just missing at his agency. And no apology. Is the head of the IRS inviting an even bigger mess after this?
I don't believe you. This is incredible.
I have a long career. That's the first time anybody has said that they do not believe me. I
don't believe you.
That's fine. We can have a disagreement.
Man.